morning, everyone. So, in today's session, let us complete the remaining SAQs, short answer questions, whatever are there. Already we have, in the previous sessions, already we have completed many SAQs, like in digestion and absorption, we have completed 3 SAQs, like functions of liver, structure of tooth, digestion of proteins in the stomach, and even in breathing and exchange of gases also we have completed nearly 3 to 4 important SAQs, like how are respiratory movements regulated in man, mechanism of breathing, okay, and transport of carbon dioxide. Such kind of important questions we have learned. Even in endocrine system, differences between hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism, Addison's disease and Cushing syndrome. Then what are the different secretions of the pituitary gland? Okay. And next, in immune system chapter, we have learned about write a short note on B cells and the structure of the immunoglobulin and different types of immunoglobulins we have learned. And apart from that, even we have learned important SAQs from genetics and evolution chapters also. So in evolution, yesterday I have taught you genetic drift theory and natural selection, Darwin's natural selection by taking industrial melanism as an example. And in genetics, we have learned erythroblastosis fetalis, sex determination in human beings, all such kind of important questions we have learned. And yesterday we have started applied biology SAQs also, where you have learned one important question, that is economic importance of honeybees. So today we are going to learn another important SAQ from applied biology. So let us see that. It is different types of cancers. So today let us learn what are different types of cancer. So this is also very, very important question, important SAQ, that which is that which will be given from applied biology. So different types of cancers. So what is cancer? When the tumor spreads from one part of the body to another part of the body. So if the tumors are localized, no problem. They are called as benign tumors. But some tumors, they act as malignant tumors. So that means they'll be moving from one place of the body to other place of the body, where they cause tumors in different areas of the body, in different parts of the body. So such kind of tumors are only called as malignant tumors, and malignant tumors are only cancer. So if the tumor spread from one part of the body to another part of the body, then that is only called as cancer. And again, you may get a doubt like what is meant by a tumor. So generally, you know that cells will divide wherever growth is needed. And if that cells, whatever are undergoing cell division, after certain stage, the cell division need to be stopped. So then only what happens, the particular size and exact structure of the tissue can be formed. So, but if the cell division is occurring in an uncontrolled manner, so uncontrolled cell division or unregulation, there is no regulation for the cell division, uncontrollable and unstoppable, continuous cell division, it will lead to so many number of cells. It will develop into a unnecessary mass of tissue, so which can be called as tumor. And if the tumors are localized, so that means if they are restricted only to particular part of the body, so then they are called as benign tumors. And if the tumor spread from one part of the body to another part of the body, so then that is only called as malignant tumor or cancer. So now in this question, we are going to learn about different types of cancers. So that means based upon the tumors from where exactly they are derived from. So the cancers are of different types. So let us see that what are the different types of cancers. So in that, the first one is called as sarcoma. So what is meant by sarcoma? So sarcoma means if the tumors are derived, from mesenchymal cells, if the tumors are derived from mesenchymal cells or mesoderm, then such kind of tumors are only called as sarcomas. So sarcomas are tumors from where they are derived from mesenchymal cells are mesoderm. So they are only called as what? Sarcoma. And example for that is osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma is the one that which is related to bone. That which is related to bone. And even musculosarcoma, that which is related to what? Muscle. So that means tumors, if they are derived from mesenchymal cells or even the connective tissue, if it is originated from connective tissue, then such kind of cancer can only be called as what? Sarcoma. So example is osteosarcoma, and if the sarcoma is related to muscle, then that can be called as musculosarcoma. So then next coming to leukemia. So leukemia, if the tumors are related to WBC, so that means what? White blood cell. So white blood cells are a type of hemopoietic stem cells or hemopoietic blood cells. So if the tumors are related to what? Hemopoietic blood cells, so then such kind of tumors are only called as what? So that is only called as leukemia. And here almost 4% of the cancers, they are related to this leukemia. And whereas if we take sarcoma, 2% of cancers are related to sarcoma. So 4% of cancers are related to leukemia, and whereas 2% of cancers are related to sarcoma. So leukemia means if the tumors are related to WBC, that is white blood cells, when the tumors are caused in white blood cells, then such kind of tumors are only called as what? Leukemia. The next coming to lymphoma. Lymphoma. So if the tumors are originating from the or originating related to lymphatic system, particularly secondary lymphoid organs, like spleen, then such kind of lymphoma is only called such kind of tumors, they are only called as what? Lymphoma. So if the tumors are originating, so based upon the lymphatic system, so then they are only called as what? Lymphoma. So particularly they are seen in secondary lymphoid organs like spleen. And even this also almost 4% of the cancers, so they are related to this lymphoma only. So 4% of cancers are related to lymphoma. Sir, 1 second pass. No? 1 second. So example for this is Burkitt lymphoma. Burkitt lymphoma. And even example for leukemia is acute T-cell leukemia. Then another major type of cancer is carcinoma. So carcinoma is when the tumors are derived from epithelial cells. When the tumors are derived from epithelial cells or epithelial tissue. So different kinds of epithelial tissue like skin, then some parts of enteric system. So then such kind of tumors, that is example for what? So that is only called as carcinoma. So almost 80% of cancers, 80% of the cancers, they are related to this carcinoma only. So like this, there are different types of cancer like sarcoma, leukemia, then lymphoma, and carcinoma. And in carcinoma also we can see different types of carcinoma. Different types of carcinoma are there, like breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancer. Colon cancer. So nearly 80 to 85% of the cancers are related to this carcinoma only. So that means the tumors that which are derived from the epithelial cells. The tumors which are derived from epithelial cells. So like this, there are different types of cancers like sarcoma, leukemia, lymphoma, and carcinoma. So what is this sarcoma? First of all, when the tumors are derived from mesenchymal cells, that is the connective tissue, then such kind of tumors are only called as sarcoma. So example is osteosarcoma, musculosarcoma, and even chondrosarcoma is also there. So the sarcoma which is related to cartilage. Sarcoma which is related to cartilage, and almost 2% of cancers are based on this sarcoma only. The next coming to leukemia. Leukemia means the tumors which are related to WBC. So that is hemopoietic blood cells. Example, hemopoietic blood cells. So 4% of cancers are related to leukemia. Example is acute T-cell leukemia. Then next coming to lymphoma. So what is this lymphoma? When the tumors are originating from lymphatic system, particularly the secondary lymphoid organs like spleen, then such kind of cancer is called as lymphoma. Example is Burkitt lymphoma. And finally, carcinoma. So when the tumors are derived from epithelial cells, so then such kind of cancer is called as carcinoma. So nearly 80 to 85% of the cancers are carcinoma only. So example like breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, and then colon cancer. So all these are different types of cancers. The next coming to, so based upon origin. So based on origin, means based upon this hereditary thing, hereditary or origin thing, the cancers are of again two types. Cancers are again of two types, like familial cancer and sporadic cancer. Familial cancer and then sporadic cancer. So the name itself indicates. So familial cancer. So what is this familial cancer? So if the cancer is hereditary in nature, so that means if the cancer is passing from generation to generation, so then such kind of cancers are only called as familial cancers. That means they are inherited from generation to generation. For example, breast cancer if we take, ovarian cancer if we take. So all these are example for familial cancer zone. So familial cancer, example, breast cancer and even ovarian cancer. Breast cancer and ovarian cancer, which is hereditary in nature. So that means it will be inherited. And whereas sporadic cancer is non-hereditary or it is not inherited, it is not inherited from generation to generation. So that is, it is not seen in family history. Such kind of diseases are not seen in the family history. And the majority of cancers, they come under sporadic cancer zone. So that means they won't be passed from generation to generation. So some of the cancers which can be passed from generation to generation is breast cancer and then ovarian cancer. They could be passed from generation to generation, and even certain blood cancers also, they'll be passed from generation to generation. But sporadic cancer, it is not seen in the family history. Example is majority of the cancers, they come under sporadic cancer. So like this, when this question has been given, mainly you need to present this answer with the different side headings, the types of cancers, and even based upon hereditary nature or the origin of cancer, you need to mention that they are of again two types, like familial cancer and then sporadic cancer. So first of all, different types of cancer. If the cancers or tumors are derived from connective tissue, that is mesenchymal cells, then such kind of cancers are called as sarcoma. Example, osteosarcoma and chondrosarcoma. osteosarcoma related to bone, chondrosarcoma related to cartilage, and leukemia when the tumors are related to WBC, so that is hemopoietic stem cells or blood cells, then such kind of cancer is leukemia. Nearly 4% of the cancers are leukemia type, and example is acute T cell leukemia. And lymphoma when the tumors are originating from lymphatic system. So particularly when we see the tumors in the secondary lymphoid organs like spleen, then such kind of cancers is only called as lymphoma. Example is Burkitt lymphoma. And next, coming to carcinoma, when the tumors are derived from the epithelial cells. So nearly 85% of the cancers, they come under this carcinoma. So example is breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancer. And based on the family history or hereditary in nature, two types of cancers. One is familial cancer, which is hereditary, and the other one is sporadic cancer, which is not inherited. The next, coming to another important SAQ, give an account of retina of eye. Give an account of retina of eye in neural control and coordination chapter. This is one of the important SAQ where there is a chance to be given. So, next question. Give an account of retina layer of eye. So, retina is the innermost layer of the eye. So, already in a structure of eye, you would have learned that. So, eye is surrounded by means of three layers. It is surrounded by means of three layers like sclera, choroid, and then retina. So, retina is the innermost layer of the eye where it consists of photopigment portion. Some portion of the retina is photopigment portion, and the remaining is neural portion. So like this, a retina, it consists of two portions. One is photopigment portion and the other one is neural portion. So for example, if we take the structure of the eye, so mainly retina, it will become the innermost layer. So it forms the innermost layer of the eye, and the second layer is choroid, and the outermost layer, it will become the sclera. It becomes the sclera portion. So like this, whatever the innermost layer is present, then that is only called as what? Retina. So where it consists of the neural portion will be present here, and the photopigment portion will be present towards the inner side. So photopigment portion. So like this, it will be present. And let us see what are the different types of cells which are present in this photopigment portion. And before going to that, first of all, the retina, it consists of three types of cells. So totally three types of cells are present. So what are they? Photopigment cells, then bipolar cells, and then ganglion cells. Bipolar cells and then ganglion cells. So like this, totally three different types of cells are present: photopigment cells, bipolar cells, and then ganglion cells. So in this photopigment cells, again, they are of two types, like rods and cones. So photopigment cells are of two types, like rods and then cones. So what is this rods? So rods, it consists of a pigment called as rhodopsin, a purplish red pigment. Rods, they consist of a purplish red pigment which can be called as rhodopsin, and whereas cones consists of iodopsin, And again, three different types of cones are present that which are differing with the absorption of the wavelength of the light, like blue, red, and then green. So blue, red, green colored cones are present. So these rods, they are meant for dim light vision or twilight vision, dim light vision, or it can also be called as twilight vision. And whereas cones, they are responsible for daylight vision. Daylight vision. So like this, the pigment cells, they are of two types, that is rods and cones. So rods are responsible for dim light vision, whereas cones are responsible for daylight vision. So rods, they consist of a purplish red pigment called as rhodopsin, and whereas cones consist of iodopsin. And cones, again, they are of three different types, like blue cones, red cones, and even green colored cones. And apart from that, even bipolar cells are present and ganglion cells are present. And not only that, in the retina portion of the eye, mainly we should talk about two important things. Macula lutea, that which contain fovea ovalis or fovea centralis. Fovea ovalis or fovea centralis. And another important thing is blind spot of eye. So blind spot of eye. So what is this macula lutea? So macula lutea is a yellow colored spot. It is a yellow colored spot that which is present at the center of the posterior central portion of retina. It is present at the posterior central portion of retina. So macula lutea, it is a yellow colored spot which is present at the posterior central portion of retina, and at the center of this macula lutea only fovea centralis or fovea ovalis is present. So where in this fovea ovalis only, so the cones are densely packed. So cones are densely packed in this fovea centralis or fovea ovalis, where the cones are densely packed. And because of more number of cones, only cones are present, but rods are absent. That is the important thing to be noted. So where the cones are densely packed, and because of the presence of the cones only, it is having highest resolution. Greatest resolution is present in the fovea ovalis, present in the macula lutea. So for example, if this is macula lutea, posterior lateral side, okay, it is present, and at the center of this macula lutea only fovea is present. So this is macula lutea, and what is this? This is fovea. Macula lutea and then fovea. So the next, blind spot. So what is this blind spot? So blind spot, it is also present exactly at the posterior central portion. So it is the place where the pigments are absent completely. So that means rods and cones are absent completely. So blind spot of the eye, it is also present at the posterior central portion. Actually, macula, it comes posterior, somewhat central, or we can consider it as a lateral, slightly lateral or beside this blind spot. So beside blind spot also we can say, beside blind spot the macula is present. And whereas this blind spot of the eye exactly present at the posterior central portion of retina, posterior central portion of retina. So from where the optic nerve is leaving, from where the optic nerve is leaving. So blind spot of retina is the portion from where the optic nerve is leaving to the brain. So this is optic nerve, so that which is leaving to the brain. So like this, mainly we need to talk about macula lutea and then blind spot of the eye when it comes to the retina. So retina, which is the innermost layer of the eye. It consists of two portions. One is photopigment portion and the other one is neural portion. So the photopigment portion, it consists, totally three different types of cells are present. So what are they? Photopigment cells, that which consists of rods and cones. So rods consists of rhodopsin, made up, which is a purplish red pigment, that which is responsible for dim light vision or twilight vision. And cones made up of with iodopsin, and it has three different wavelengths of light absorbing pigments like blue cone, red cone, and then green colored cones are present. They are meant for daylight vision. And apart from that, even bipolar cells and ganglion cells are also present. So the macula lutea, it is a yellow colored spot which is present at the posterior portion of the retina. So beside this blind spot, and at the center of this macula lutea only fovea is present, where this fovea are densely packed with cones, but rods are absent. And this is the site where highest or greatest resolution is present. And what is blind spot of eye? So blind spot, it is also present at the posterior central portion from where the optic nerve is leaving the eye. So like this, three different types of cells are present. And even roughly you can present the diagram also. Roughly you can present the diagram like you can show the bipolar cells and ganglion cells. So let me show here. So you can show the bipolar. So bipolar cells, and these bipolar cells, they continue with the ganglion cells. So like this, many, you can show many bipolar and ganglion cells. And on the top of them, you are supposed to show the rods and even cones, that which are almost present in alternate fashion. So like this, and on the top of this, you can show the rod cells, where the cones and the rods are present. On the top of this, again, the photopigment portion, which is non-visual portion. Photopigment portion, which is non-visual portion, will be present. And below that, you are having the neural portion. So neural portion is present. So like this, you can show roughly rod cells and cone cells and bipolar and then ganglion cells. So like this, you can show. This is the photopigment portion. The photopigment portion. So this is rod and the cones. So photopigments, photoreceptor layer of the eye, where it consists of photopigments. Then these are bipolar cells and ganglion cells. And this portion, it is photopigment pigment portion. So this you can present as photoreceptor. Photoreceptor, that which consists of rods and cones, because they are only acting as receptors that which help in perceiving light, either dim light or daylight. So like this, roughly you can show the picture also. Okay. So that is about retina, which is the innermost layer of the eye. So retina, which is the innermost layer of the eye. So the next, coming to corycycle in musculoskeletal system. Let us see important SAQ now. Let us see the important SAQ in musculoskeletal system, which is corycycle. So what is this corycycle? So the two-way traffic cycle that which is occurring between muscle and liver through blood is only called as corycycle. This cycle was first discovered by Cory, so that's why it can be called as corycycle. So what is this corycycle? Actually, during anaerobic respiration of muscle. So we know that muscle undergoes anaerobic respiration during strenuous exercise, where oxygen availability is very poor. So whenever breathing is not occurring properly, but still continuous energy supply is needed, like when you are running at a stretch, okay? So, or when you are doing, some strenuous exercise continuously. So that time your muscle needs constant supply of energy. That is hand muscles or leg muscles, whatever it may be. So they need constant supply of energy. So at the same time, no, they are not supplied with oxygen properly. So during that time, what happens? They will be shifting to anaerobic mode of respiration. Anaerobic mode of respiration due to poor availability or lack of oxygen. Because of poor availability of lack of oxygen. So during that time, what happens? In anaerobic respiration, you know that only glycolysis occurs. Only glycolysis occurs where glucose is converted into two molecules of pyruvate. Glucose is converted into two molecules of pyruvate with the release of two ATP molecules. And along with this, what happens? Then this pyruvate immediately it will be converted into lactate or lactic acid. So it will be converted into lactate or lactic acid. So where it is happening? All this is happening in the muscle. All this is happening in the muscle. So in the muscle, where muscle contraction is important during some exercise or some running kind of thing. So where it needs continuous energy, at the same time, no, muscle is not getting sufficient or enough amount of oxygen. So that's why it has shifted to anaerobic mode of respiration. So where during that time, continuous supply of energy will be provided, even though it is least amount of energy, but still very fastly energy will be provided through anaerobic mode of respiration, where glucose through glycolysis, it is able to form two molecules of pyruvate, where pyruvate again immediately it is converted into lactate. So for example, if this is muscle, if this is the muscle tissue, so in corycycle, you should show this flow chart, definitely. So this is muscle, where muscle, in muscle glucose by means of glycolysis, as I showed you now, it forms two molecules of pyruvate, where pyruvate is again converted into lactate. Now, whatever the lactate formed, again, it will be converted into glucose, but very short amounts of lactate will be converted into glucose because of poor availability of oxygen. So then what happens to most of the lactate? Most of the lactate, it enters into the bloodstream. So now this is the blood. So through blood, what happens? Through blood, lactate has been entering into liver. So now this is liver tissues. So this is liver. So this is liver. Now in the liver, what happens? Whatever the lactate which has been entered, again it is getting back converted into pyruvate, where again pyruvate, it gets back or it gets converted into glucose. It is something like gluconeogenesis. That is formation of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources is only called as what? Gluconeogenesis. That is only called as gluconeogenesis. So that means lactate, lactate to pyruvate, pyruvate to glucose. So which is opposite to that of whatever occurring in the muscle. Whatever occurring in the muscle. So that means here backward pathway occurs. So whatever the glucose now formed, so the glucose whatever formed now, it will be used either for energy production by entering into the muscle. So by entering into the muscle, so it will be responsible for providing energy, or otherwise the glucose is extra. Then that extra glucose would be converted into what? It would be converted into glycogen and get stored in the liver. Whatever the glucose formed now, it is having two fates. If energy requirement is there, then glucose will enter into the muscle and helps in producing energy for the muscle. Or if excess is there, then that will be converted into glycogen and get stored in the liver only. So this two-way traffic cycle. So this two-way traffic cycle, that which is occurring between muscle and liver is only called as Cori cycle. So what is happening in Cori cycle? When the muscle is undergoing anaerobic mode of respiration, as it needs continuous supply of energy and where oxygen availability is very poor. So then what happens? Glucose through glycolysis gets converted into pyruvate, where pyruvate gets converted into lactate. Now very small amounts of lactate will be converted into glucose in muscle, and most of the lactate, so it will be entering into the blood. So where through blood, what happens? It enters into liver. So where in liver, the lactate will be converted back into pyruvate, then pyruvate to glucose, which is called as gluconeogenesis. Now whatever the glucose, whichever is formed, now again it enters into muscle through blood and may be responsible for producing energy, or it may be converted into glycogen and stored in the liver. So which is only called as Cori cycle. So which is very important question. So in today's session, we have learned three important SAQs. One is different types of cancers from applied biology chapter. And the other one is given account of the retina layer of the eye from neural control and coordination. And another SAQ from musculoskeletal system. So that is Cori cycle. In tomorrow's session, let us learn another important SAQs from musculoskeletal system, like a diagram of pelvic girdle, then synovial joint question with the help of a labeled diagram. So with this, we can finish all important SAQs. And finally, from Monday, let us go with all important VSAQs. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. I think so only 2 members have joined. Aman and Siddhika. Any doubts? If you have any doubts, raise your hand so that we will unmute. Aman and Siddhika. Hope that you people have learned all the important LAQs. If anybody want revision again, we will revise. So male reproductive system, female reproductive system, structure of heart and working of heart with diagrams. From these 4 questions only, surely you will get 2 LAQs. So everyone learn these 4 LAQs without fail. And SAQs, whatever I said, definitely from this chapter, damn sure one SAQ comes. So from that chapter, you can cover all the important SAQs. So tomorrow we will conclude all the SAQs, and after that we will start a VSAQs in the next week. So fine, if you have any doubts, we will end up the session. So thank you.